Hmm. Hmm. Alright. Welcome back to another Rambling Review. In this review, we're going to be reviewing the new Death Note movie from Netflix. If you don't know what Death Note is the story of a young man named Light who gets this who comes in possession of a thing called Death Note, where if you write somebody's name in it and how they die and everything, it comes true. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. It's just way too many rules and stuff for me to go over here. Hopefully you're already familiar with the source material. But yeah, so Netflix made a adaptation of it, and it came out today. Or I watched it actually at midnight last night. And give you a little brief history with me and Death Note. Death Note is one of my all-time favorite anime and manga. Easily my top 5 all-time favorite anime and manga. It's a brilliant fucking story. Just the whole chess game between Light and L is beautiful. Ryuk and L are two of my favorite characters in all of anime and manga, and it is just an amazing series. If you've never seen it, I highly suggest going to check it out. So Netflix did an American adaptation of it. Now, watching the trailers, I was highly skeptical of it, but before we go on, I must say, I am not against American remakes of beloved Japanese manga, movies, or any of that kind, or anime, or any of that kind of thing. I am not against it. I know you probably don't understand what I just said, but I am not against it. Okay? Because the Japanese do make horrible versions of their own stuff. Attack on Titan, I'm looking at you. But, so, yeah, I found out, so I finally got to sit down and watch the movie last night, and this is how we're going to have to do it. I'm going to review this movie 2 ways. The first way I'm going to do it is I'm going to review it as a movie. I'm going to leave out all the stuff about the source material out of it. I'm just going to review it as a movie by itself. And then second, I'm going to review it as a fan of Death Note. Stick around for the second one. But alright, here we go. So, as a movie, this movie is not bad at all. The cinematography is really good. I love the way this movie looks. I love the feel to the movie and stuff. It's really good. It's oddly paced sometimes, and the ending kind of comes out of nowhere. It just kind of ends abruptly. Oh, totally setting up a part 2, but it's just weird. It just weirdly ends like all of a sudden. The movie is only an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes long, and this is going to come into play with my problems as a Death Note fan later, but as an hour and a half movie, it's serviceable and stuff, man. All the actors do a fine job. The weakest links in the acting, and it's not really the actor's fault per se, but the guy that plays Light, there's just a few times that I'm kind of like, really? And that's as not a fan of the series, but as a moviegoer, you're just kind of like, what? The girl that plays Mia, but that's more of a complaint for the fan of Death Note review. And but the people that hold this movie together though are the guy Lakeith Stanfield, who plays L, and Willem Dafoe as Ryuk, and they nailed it. But So to end my movie review, because honestly I can't review this movie without going into comparing it to Death Note originally, because I'm too much of a fan of it to do that. But as a movie, if you've only had like little bits of interactions with the Death Note, with the original Death Note manga or anime, or the TV or the original Japanese television show or TV drama, or the original 3 movies, which I did like the original 3 movies, or the original movies. I haven't seen the TV drama yet, but it is on my Crunchyroll, and I will, when I get around to watching it, I will get around to watching it. But if you're a fan, it's still a good movie. I mean, it is good. It is a good movie. I would, as a fan of movies, the movie itself, I give a 7 out of 10. Maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Now starts the part of the review where I review this movie as a fan of Death Note. And here's where a lot of problems with this movie come in. As a fan of Death Note. Once again, the movie is still not bad, but there are a lot of things. And the 2 biggest problems that come to me, 3 biggest problems that come to me are, the movie is way too short, because a lot of the Death Note manga and anime are derived off of the mental chess games between L and Light. And you just don't really get that, a lot of that, in this movie. There are times whenever that they seem like they're going that way, and no, and stuff. But the other 2 biggest problem, and that's really not anything to do with the adaptation's fault or anything like that. It's just it wasn't enough time. This movie should have been longer, so they could have got enough time for L and Light to have their mental chess battle like they do in the source material. Now, the other 2 biggest problems with this movie are L and Mia. I mean, not L. Sorry, not L. Light and Mia. Light and Mia are by far the 2 biggest problems, because Light is changed somewhat from his source material counterpart, and Mia is changed almost damn near completely. Okay, but that's not, and that's not a bad thing, but it is whenever it just doesn't make a lot of sense story-wise, especially considering how amazing the original story is. You don't have to change any. I mean, you could still keep all the. We'll get there. So I want to start with what I think is the lesser of the 2 problems, and that is Light. Alright, in the original manga and anime, Light is a model student. He just has like a I'm a holier than thou kind of type of personality on the inside. And once he gets a hold of the Death Note and stuff, it starts to play more and bring out more of his God complex that he develops as Kira as the story goes along and stuff. And in this, they make Light. I don't know why America has to do this every time that we go to while we have to change when we go to do adaptations. Light is a angsty teenager who's smarter than everybody else he knows, which is also how he's another thing, but he's a really angsty teenager who does homework for other students and all this other crap. And it's kind of like, why would you change that? Because that's one of the things that makes Light such a great character, is that he's not angsty and stuff. You know, he just thinks he's smarter than everyone else. Which Netflix Light does think he's smarter than everybody else, but it's not as pronounced as it is in the source material and stuff. So he just, and there's a lot, and a lot of it has to do with the way the actor portrays him. The actor portraying him is not bad. It's just compared to like how Light usually is, it's kind of like, what? And then on top of that, like, there's a few choices in this movie, man, where it seems like things are done, like there's a bunch of instances where it seems like things are done to make you laugh, and then there's a bunch of instances where things happen that I don't think are meant to be funny, but it's just the way it comes off as funny. But I do like, one of my favorite scenes, and actually when the first time I watched it, I was really like, kind of like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this, but the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, it's a little bit better. Is Light's first reaction to meeting Ryuk. He basically just flips the fuck out. Like, completely flips the fuck out. Like, flips out, running around this damn classroom and shit, and it's like, what the fuck? And, the first time you see it, it's kind of like, what? But then the second time, you're kind of like, okay, that is kind of the natural reaction a person would have when they see this thing all of a sudden just standing there talking to them like it's a normal person and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, that is kind of the natural reaction a person would have to see it. So to you actually seeing Ryuk for the first time, and you never knew like, you didn't know this guy existed, and all of a sudden you could see him and he could talk back to you, and the way he looks in here is freaking insane. Like, yeah, that's kind of the normal reaction you would have to it, but it's also very hilarious. Now, another thing that I didn't mention this in the movie review, but I'm gonna just touch on this for a minute. There is a lot of gore. Well, not a lot of gore, but there's gore in this movie, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I can say I am okay with that. But nonetheless, which was surprising because I totally was not expecting there to be any gore in this movie. And then there's like a bunch of like damn near every death in this motherfucker has some kind of gore in it. But all right, but yeah, Light just. But for the most part, Light's not a bad character. It's just a lot of bad choices they made to change him for the adaptation is what makes him bad. Now, on to what I think is the more problem with the changing of these two characters, and that is Mia, who in this movie is the adaptation version of Misa. And the thing about her is while I don't, the actress, she's played by Margaret Qualley. I might be butchering her name, but she's Jill on The Leftovers, which is an amazing show, by the way, but she's Jill on The Leftovers. And my thing is, you, like, this, what they did with Mia, as opposed to Misa, like, one of, like Misa's defining characteristic in Death Note is her unyielding, undying love for Light. It starts out as an undying love for Kira, that once she finds out Light is Kira, it turns into an unyielding and undying love for Light. Whereas in this version of it, it's more ambiguous. Does she love Light more, or does she love the Death Note more? And a lot of the times you do get the sense that she's just playing Light to get closer to the Death Note. There's a lot of that in this. There's a lot, especially the way it ends. Whenever she basically tricks him into giving her the Death Note, and then he turns the tables on her, and it's kind of like, what? Okay. She comes off as being very unlikable, whereas Misa was not unlikable in any kind of way. In fact, it was kind of funny that it was a really extremely one-sided romance where Light just really didn't give a damn about her. He just kept her around to keep his goddamn secret, and she was like fucking head over heels, like she was like obsessed with this motherfucker. And they did not give her Nam. The fucking, she did not get her Shinigami either. They cut that part out. They kept out that part where and all that, which is understandable for this. It would have been too much to have another Ryuk running around. Even though Nam or whatever her name is, she is way different than Ryuk. She doesn't have the Shinigami eyes or none of that. She's a cheerleader, albeit like goth obsessed with death kind of cheerleader. And you know, she falls in love with Light once Light just openly shows her that he can kill people with the Death Note and stuff. She falls in love with and that's why I said, does she fall in love with Light, or does she fall in love with the Death Note? And to me, the way it came off to me, that in all actuality, she was actually in love with the Death Note itself, and not really Light. You know, at first. It kind of, at first and at the end. In the middle of the movie, you could kind of make the case that she does love Light, but like at the beginning, and then especially at the end, you can just see that this bitch is all about the Death Note. Does not give a fuck about Light, just wants the Death Note. Because she wouldn't have put his goddamn name in there in the first fucking place. Anyway, which I thought was okay. But if there's two characters that saved this fucking movie, that is L and Ryuk. And let me tell you, we'll start with Ryuk. Whoever thought it was a good idea to get Willem Dafoe to play Ryuk, that guy should be given the secret to immortality. Because that was probably the best choice as far as acting go, like actor-wise, actor-character-wise goes, I've seen in a long time. Willem Dafoe's Ryuk is amazing. I was totally on board with it. He does a phenomenal job as Ryuk. And what's so awesome is they keep Ryuk as Ryuk is in the manga and anime. Except for there's one slight problem that I have with the way they portray Ryuk in this, is they kind of make him more of an antagonist in this adaptation, whereas in the original source material, he's more of an observer. Because if you see Death Note, you know that all of this, the whole Death Note story was put into motion by Ryuk because he was bored and stuff, and he just dropped the Death Note out in front of Light, down by where Light was, and Light happened to pick it up, and that's what started the whole thing. But in this, they try to push it as he's more of an antagonist, kinda, towards the end of the movie and stuff, like that he screwed Light and them, although they don't really say how he screwed him, because he didn't, really. It was more they screwed themselves, they just wanted to blame him and stuff, but he does a fantastic job as Ryuk. Now it brings me to my second favorite character from, well, probably my favorite character from Death Note, L. This guy got it right. I was so worried about this dude playing L going in that I was just hoping he'd have all the little crazy, you know, like crazy tics and like just the way L is and eating the candy. Yes, it's all there. The only problem I have is that they constantly stress how much sleep is L getting, and that he has to wear these glasses that helps him like refocus his mind or something. And then the purpose of the candy is to give him insulin shots to keep him up. Whereas in, you know, the candy and the sweet stuff, it's supposed to give him, it's supposed to have insulin in it that keeps him up and awake and stuff whenever he's on these cases. But but in the other one he just likes sweets and stuff, whereas in this one it's more of a medical thing and stuff. That's the only thing I really didn't care for. But that's just nitpick. Don't let that, because this guy gets L right, and you could tell him and Willem Dafoe are having a blast as L and Ryuk. Like, you could tell, like this, like those dudes kill it and stuff, man. Like everything from the way L talks to other people, all the way to just like, you know, his interactions with people. His like, one of my favorite scenes is whenever he goes on TV, like on television, and he's provoking Light and stuff, and he's like, well, kill me now. What? And then nothing happens, and then it validates what his theory was. And good Lord, that was a great scene and stuff. But now, the last thing I want to touch on is the problem. Like I was saying earlier in the video, there is a problem with the hour and 40-minute time period. This movie would have did more from a longer runtime, because they needed more of the whole L versus Light chess battle, and they didn't have time to kind of put it in there, because this movie basically covers, if you're following on with the source material, this movie basically covers the first half of the manga and anime. It covers the first half of it. You know, when Light was still in school and before he joined the police department and stuff. It would have made way longer, because I mean, really, this would have probably been the like when I first seen the trailer, I thought it was going to be like a TV show that Netflix was doing, which would have been great if this had been a TV show. This probably would have been really, really good if it had been a TV show, because you need that whole thing between Light and L. And this hour and a half is not enough time to get that established at all. They barely established any of that. But, the other thing is the trailers would have you believe that Kira, that they touch on the whole, like, Light's Kira persona a lot. Not really. It is in there, but it's mainly in the middle of the movie and stuff. Like I said, if we had a longer run time, they'd have been able to flesh out the Kira side of Light way better. Because it is in the movie, but it's not there for very long. It's probably like around the middle of the movie is when they have the whole Kira stuff and stuff. But like I said, this movie, it looks great. It is an okay movie. If you've never seen Death Note, never read the manga, never seen the anime, never seen the original live action movies, or never seen the TV drama, you will probably enjoy this movie a lot and stuff. Like, and if you have done all that, you'll probably still enjoy the movie. I enjoy, as somebody who completely 100% loves Death Note, I still didn't enjoy this movie. But as a Death Note fan, as a person who wanted to see like an American adaptation of the source material and stuff, man, you might like it or you might hate it. But as a regular movie, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. As a Death Note fan, I give it a 5 or a 6 out of 10 and stuff. But yeah, man, if you like this video, like this review, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that bell down below. And as always, motherfuckers, never forget that I hate all of you.